Welcome to a conversation about dyslexia. My name's Amanda Coro. I'm the Writing Center Coordinator at Albany State University and a current UGA graduate student. And my special guest, Dr. Kuipers.
I'm Dr. Elizabeth Kuipers, and I am an English professor here at Albany State University.
So we are together today to discuss dyslexia, what we know, what we don't know, how it exists currently in the field of education. So do we want to talk first about what is dyslexia, what that means to us?
Sure. So at its simplest, most basic terms, students who have dyslexia, people who have dyslexia, have a very difficult time reading because their brain processes letters and numbers in reverse orders than they appear on the page. Mm-hmm. And I understand that through working in K-12, particularly sitting in on IEP meetings for students with dyslexia, that for many of them, math was a bigger difficulty than for reading.
Oh, interesting.
Which was really surprising to me. And I think that might be the linguistic notion of filling in letters that you don't have to read the whole thing. You start, like if I'm reading specific, I'll see SPE and then go specific, because that's the only word that starts with SPE. And so I think that there's a lot of that going on with people who certainly figure out ways to cope, shortcuts.
Absolutely.
To cope with their disabilities.
Yeah, that brings up an interesting point. I didn't realize about the math. You're right. It affects, what I didn't realize going into this, I learned from this course, is how cognitively based it is. And also how it can kind of vary in a spectrum. We had followed this one researcher, Dyslexia, Maggie Snowling, that talked about it like high blood pressure, ranging from high to low and the different characteristics. But yes, I understand it the same way you do as far as like decoding, the phonological processing, having trouble with that. That's how I recognize it as well. Mm-hmm. Yes. Do you see that with the students in your classes now at the college level, or?
What I see more regularly is, I'm not a diagnostician. I'm not even sure that's the right word for this, but I see more regularly students crafting ways to get out of reading rather than fully embracing doing the college level reading that they need to do. And it's really tragic to me because there are lots of stigmas attached to these issues of fundamental issues about reading. And we have so many resources on the college level. For instance, when I pull up a text in Georgia View and show students that have trouble reading, look, here's this button right here that will read it out loud for you.
Right.
They're just blown away.
Yes.
And that's certainly not just for dyslexic students. All kinds of reading issues can be helped with that kind of tool that we have. But
absolutely, yeah, so many negative stigmas. The part of us having this conversation so fully breaks. Me too. When I saw it in the Writing Centers for the first time, part of why I took this course is, as you mentioned, having trouble reading the letters, that it was moving, and they were kind of ashamed. Like they'd been diagnosed with dyslexia already, and kind of murmured to me up and silently about it. But yes, I do the reading aloud with them, and try to give them more visual aspects. We learned a lot too, and I want to hear your take on K through 12 with like phonological processing tests. We had looked at one called C-Stop. I don't know if you used that one. And then also RAN, the Rapid Automated Naming. So you're familiar with that. So those were very interesting to learn. Did you experience that when you were in the elementary?
I didn't do any of the testing.
Okay.
I saw lots of results. And I conferred with teachers who would bring, okay, these are the problems I see this kid having. Okay. And we would sort of determine together whether or not to send it to the district level for testing, which is a whole nother issue of funding and availability. And I was in a community that is mostly African-American community, and this is a little off topic, but not exactly. That special education unit did not want to test Black boys because
why?
what that then looked like was, even though our Black boy population was huge, it looked like from outside numbers, if that population in the special ed pop was too high, it looked like we were targeting them.
Oh, wow.
So there are all kinds of interesting political pieces to providing student services and even determining what the issues really are on a fundamental level.
Oh my gosh, yes. You bring up too about the environment and like who majority of people have dyslexia. Like I said, the cognitive, right? But then we learned from this class how much genetically, environmentally too.
Oh, really? Fascinating.
Yes, from their backgrounds and where they come from and things like that, how it affects marginalized groups. So that was really interesting to learn. And we learned too that it is 8% of the population.
Wow.
Has dyslexia. But that goes back to diagnosing. I think a lot of people are not diagnosed. And that's what's strange about this class I learned, because it's unclear. They don't have a exact definition. The medical community, there's no...
All over the place.
Right. So I think those things need to be in place so we can move forward and actually help students, the students that you're mentioning especially.
I think you're right. My nephew was very young, diagnosed ADHD.
Okay.
And that was just this is why he's doing poorly. He doesn't have attention span. He's just all over the place. Well, further testing when he was middle school showed that he had dysgraphia and dyslexia.
Oh, wow.
So do you know what dysgraphia is?
No, I don't.
I had never heard of it either. So his eyes, when he's trying to read across a line of text or a line of numbers, his eyes jump back and forth between the lines. So he literally has to take, a piece of paper and use it to mark a line so that his eyes follow just that one line. So that with the dyslexia gave him huge challenges until he was diagnosed and got some targeted interventions to help him deal with that.
I'm glad that it got caught when he was in middle school.
Because we always thought that kid's never going to go to college. He's never going to survive college. It's just not for him.
What grade is he in now?
He's a sophomore in college.
Oh, wow. Wow.
He's studying psychology.
Oh, that's amazing.
So he has managed. He's got lots of tricks. He does lots of audio books, audio textbooks. And he's figured out coping mechanisms.
Would you kind of attribute that then to the early detection in middle school?
No, I would attribute it to his mother being bullheaded about making sure that he had opportunities and knowledge and that his teachers were aware of what was going on. And she was just ferocious about attending those IEPs and making sure he had the accommodations that he needed. Because you kind of have to be. Yeah,
what a great mom.
Yeah.
And that goes back to the environment,
absolutely.
Having a support system to back you up. And we talked about early detection. Something that's amazing that you mentioned that I didn't expect is how often the teachers are recognizing.
Oh, yeah.
Because we learned that's not usually the case. But that is the key, having early detection by teachers. If we're training the teachers to early diagnose, then we're catching it earlier. And they're trying to do that now in Georgia, kindergarten through third grade. So I guess middle school's a little later, but still catching it early.
And our information said that if you were not reading on grade level at third grade, statistically, the possibility that you graduate from high school plummets.
Wow.
And so that for our reading program, that K through 3 was absolutely essential.
I agree. So what do we think that looks like going forward? Big question, I know.
Yeah, I don't know. Students are so much more focused on media and certainly Wattpad. There are ways that they can read on their phones. My own children, much to my horror, choose to read a lot that way. I'm not going to say that there's not a way to maintain literacy through devices. But I think for most people it inhibits
Yes, I agree.
engagement significantly.
I agree.
And I don't know how to get around that. When I get students in the freshman level classes to actually read through a novel, and I don't tell them this, but it's like a fifth grade level writing.
Yes.
Some of them will say, I've never read a book before.
Wow.
And so they have figured out tricks, or K-12 has done them a significant disservice in not providing those opportunities.
And I agree. I've seen that as well. Like I said, in the writing center, sometimes the writing center becomes the reading center. And we do a lot of reading out loud with these students that come in and they know they have dyslexia, but then we have those that haven't been recognized yet. So I think it's about having a specialist too on campus to help with that, specifically with reading, and do some of that testing that I mentioned prior.
That would be wonderful.
Absolutely.
And then we've got to have the backup training for those of us who then are trying to provide appropriate accommodations in the classroom when we have most college professors have zero pedagogical training.
Yeah, you're right. You're 100% right. Yeah.
Certainly not anything about special ed or differently abled students.
That is so true. That is so true. Do you have any thoughts of how to overcome that?
I don't.
It's a loaded question.
I did a few years ago just some really basic reading research among the freshmen and used the Nelson-Denny reading test.
Yes. We actually, I think, mentioned that towards the end of the course. Yeah, so starting with like an easy reading level book and then progressing.
Well, no, it's a reading test, and you get fluency, the grade level that they're reading on, a comprehension level.
Oh, wow.
And the results were shocking and horrifying.
Was that the one you administered, and then the majority were at middle grade level? Okay, yes. I remember mentioning.
But all of a sudden, that made me this perceived expert, and I'm not an expert on that. I'm an expert on reading books and talking about books.
Yeah, and I think that's a whole nother discussion, right? English being perceived to having all that knowledge.
And we don't.
Right.
That's not where we're trained at all.
You're absolutely right.
So there are a whole lot of things that people just assume, they're covering that in English. No. No. And you can't put that in English,
you're absolutely
because we don't have the training that needs to happen there. And if it's something as fundamental as reading, how can we get faculty across the board in reading heavy classes in history and sociology,
all the other subject areas,
to recognize the issues? Even if a kid comes to me and says, I'm dyslexic, okay, well, what do you need from me? If that kid can't tell me what they need from me, I'm not really going to have a whole lot of solutions for them, other than to say, okay, here's a version of this book you can listen to. Here's some close reading guidelines that I can suggest for you.
Yeah, that's part of why I'm taking this course, so I can help students more, and we need those resources that we talked about.
Absolutely.
So I really appreciate you meeting with me, Dr. Kuipers.
Yeah, this was fun.
Yes.